Emma was usually a cheerful and optimistic woman who deeply trusted her husband, David. They had been married for 4 years and were raising a healthy young boy named Oliver. Emma and David had once been colleagues at the same company, and their image as a glowing, happy couple heading to work together had drawn much attention. However, after Oliver was born, Emma decided to switch to a different job to better balance her responsibilities and care for her family. One Saturday afternoon, Emma had a coffee date with her old colleagues, a close-knit group of friends she had worked with during her years at her previous company. They often met on weekends to catch up, share life updates, and support each other through challenges at work and home. On this particular day, Emma wore a light blue dress, her hair tied up, and her face radiant with excitement at the prospect of seeing her friends again after a long time. At their usual coffee shop, after warm greetings and cheerful chatter, the group began talking about their current lives. One of Emma's old friends, Sophia, who still worked in the same department as David, suddenly shared a story that left Emma stunned. Sophia revealed that David had bought an expensive bottle of perfume as a birthday gift for a new female colleague at his company. "Emma, didn't you know? Last week, David gave a luxury perfume to a new employee for her birthday. I happened to see him handing her the gift in the hallway. She's only been with the company for a few months," Sophia said cautiously, watching Emma's expression change. Emma froze, a wave of unease washing over her. She tried to mask her shock, but the smile she wore earlier faded from her lips. A flood of questions swirled in her mind. Why would David give a gift to a new female colleague? Why hadn't he mentioned this to her? Was there something special about the relationship between David and this woman? On her way home after meeting her friends, Emma couldn't stop thinking about Sophia's story. For years of marriage had seen her and David overcoming countless challenges together. From raising a young child to dealing with work pressures, David had always been a responsible man, a loving husband and father, who did everything to make Emma happy. Yet the story about the expensive bottle of perfume made her question everything. Emma's thoughts drifted to the happy times she had shared with David. They had first met at their old company when both were young and full of ambition. David's sense of humor and knack for making her laugh had drawn her to him. Lunchtime conversations, late nights solving work problems together, and heartfelt discussions that lasted until dawn had gradually deepened their love. Even after marriage, Emma and David worked hard to keep the romance alive. Movie nights, short weekend getaways, and the little surprise gifts David gave her made her feel like the luckiest woman. Yet, the revelation about the perfume felt like a dark cloud casting a shadow over their love. Emma wondered if David's love for her was still the same, or if he had begun developing feelings for someone else. The thought was painful, but she was determined not to let her son Oliver see her distress. Emma decided to keep her emotions hidden, at least until she could uncover the truth. Emma had maintained a close relationship with her former colleagues after leaving the company. Every month, they tried to arrange at least one gathering. Her group of friends consisted of 5 women, all of whom had worked together and knew each other well. From their personalities to their family circumstances, they were loyal companions, sharing joys, sorrows, and even secrets they wouldn't tell anyone else. Among them, Sophia was the one most familiar with David's current work situation. As she still worked with him, Sophia had always admired David and often praised his hard work and dedication. That was why, when Sophia mentioned the perfume incident, Emma knew her friend wasn't trying to stir trouble but was genuinely concerned for her. After the meeting, Emma's mind was in turmoil. She trusted that Sophia wouldn't lie or exaggerate, so the fact that David had given a perfume to a female colleague had to be true. This realization left Emma feeling betrayed. David had never mentioned a new colleague in his department, which only deepened her suspicion. Emma started to wonder if David was hiding something from her. Why hadn't he shared anything about the new colleague when he usually told her every detail about his workplace? She began questioning whether David's relationship with this woman was truly just a professional one. Emma decided not to confront David directly about the perfume incident. She understood that if she brought it up bluntly, David might deny it or try to figure out who had told her, potentially escalating tensions and damaging their relationship further. Emma wanted David to realize that she knew something was off without her needing to say it outright. She needed a more subtle approach to address the issue. After many sleepless nights pondering, she came up with a plan to subtly signal to David that she was aware of his actions. That weekend, while David was taking an afternoon nap, Emma quietly took his phone and ordered an even more expensive bottle of luxury perfume than the one he had given his colleague. She selected same-day delivery to ensure the package would arrive quickly. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. Emma guessed it was the delivery and asked David to answer the door. David, confused, found himself holding a pricey bottle of perfume. Emma stepped forward, smiling as she took the package and remarked, "Thank you, David. You're so thoughtful. Making sure your wife isn't outshined by any female colleague." David froze, his face briefly turning pale. He immediately realized that Emma knew about the situation and was subtly warning him. Left with no other option, he paid for the perfume without saying a word. Once they were back inside, David attempted to explain. He claimed the perfume he had given to his colleague was merely a simple birthday gift. Nothing more. He insisted that a salesperson had recommended it, and he was simply following their advice. But Emma wasn't easily convinced. She countered, "Then why didn't you give gifts to other female colleagues on their birthdays? Why is this new employee an exception? You're a deputy manager. Are you trying to win over new employees with expensive gifts?" David stammered, unable to provide a convincing response. He realized that Emma had caught him off guard, leaving him with no room for justification. His evasive demeanor only confirmed Emma's suspicions that something unusual was going on between him and the new colleague. Emma didn't demand anything from David. Instead, she calmly told him that he needed to think carefully and control his emotions before things got out of hand. "Otherwise, you'll regret it," she said, her tone steady but filled with underlying meaning. David said nothing more, lowering his head as guilt and fear of losing the family he cherished overwhelmed him. After the perfume incident, the atmosphere in Emma and David's household grew heavy and tense. David tried to act cheerful, making an effort to be close to his wife and son. But Emma couldn't easily forget what had happened. She no longer trusted David's words as she once did. Every word he said and every action he took made her think and question his intentions. Weekends, which should have been a time for the family to relax and enjoy together, were now filled with tension and cold silence. Emma no longer laughed as much as she used to. She began to distance herself from David. Instead of sitting together to watch TV, she would excuse herself, saying she was busy with Oliver or working on personal tasks, avoiding direct interaction with her husband. David noticed the change. He tried to spend more time with their son, playing with Oliver in hopes that it might ease Emma's anger. However, Emma couldn't bring herself to fully forgive him, as an invisible fear still lingered in her heart. David wanted to apologize and explain to Emma on several occasions, but each time he started to speak, she would respond with a cold nod and say nothing more. He could feel the emotional distance growing between them, and it pained him deeply, yet he knew he had to take responsibility for his actions. Determined to mend their relationship, David vowed to do whatever it took to regain Emma's trust. No matter how challenging it might be, Emma felt lonely and adrift in her own home. She didn't know how to confront her emotions. She loved David, she knew that, but her love had been deeply wounded. His lies and ambiguous actions made Emma feel as though she was no longer the special woman in her husband's eyes. Each night, after Oliver had gone to bed, Emma sat alone in the living room, contemplating her marriage. She wondered if she could ever forgive and trust David again. The happy memories of their past pained her, as they only highlighted the stark contrast of their current reality. Emma didn't want to lose her family, but she also didn't want to live in constant anxiety and doubt. She recalled the early days of their marriage when they had dreamed of a happy life together, a home filled with laughter. But now, that dream seemed to be fading away. Emma felt as though she were lost in a maze, unsure of how to find her way out of this overwhelming sense of disorientation and heartache. David knew he couldn't let things continue this way. He loved Emma and didn't want to lose her. Determined to take action, he decided to prove to Emma that she was the most important person in his life. He wanted her to understand that the gift he gave to his colleague was nothing more than a foolish mistake. Devoid of any special meaning, David started with small gestures. He began waking up earlier each day to prepare breakfast for the family. He took Oliver to school and spent time playing with him in the evenings. David also reorganized his work schedule so he could come home earlier. He wanted to show Emma that his family was his top priority. In addition, David planned a short family trip. He believed that a getaway from the city, where it would just be the three of them, could help rekindle happy memories and encourage Emma to open her heart again. He chose a destination that Emma had loved in the past, a place they had visited during their early days of dating. David hoped that the romance and nostalgia of those fond memories would help heal some of the hurt she felt. One evening, after Oliver had fallen asleep, David decided it was time to have an honest conversation with Emma. He knew he needed to confront the truth and address both of their feelings. He walked into the living room, where Emma was quietly reading, and gently said, "Emma, can we talk for a moment?" Emma looked up, her eyes reflecting fatigue, but she nodded. David sat down beside her, his gaze filled with regret and sincerity. "I know I've hurt you," he began. "I'm truly sorry for making you feel this way. The perfume, I didn't consider your feelings when I did that. It was a mistake, and I deeply regret it." Emma remained silent, her eyes searching his for a genuine expression of remorse. "David, I don't know if I can trust you again," she said softly. "I trusted you completely, and you knew that. But your actions made me feel like I'm no longer important to you. I don't want to live in doubt, wondering every day if you're hiding something from me." David reached for her hand, his eyes filled with earnestness. "I understand, and I'll do whatever it takes to regain your trust. I know words aren't enough, but I hope you'll give me a chance to prove myself through my actions. I love you, Emma, and I love Oliver. I don't want to lose this family." Emma gazed at him, her heart wavering under the weight of his sincerity. She could see that David was genuinely remorseful and willing to change, but the pain inside her had yet to heal. "I'll give you a chance, David," she said at last. "But I need time, and I need to see that you truly mean it, not just with words, but with actions." David nodded, his heart filling with hope. He knew he still had a chance to make things right and win back Emma's love. They sat together in silence, and for the first time in a while, a glimmer of hope began to shine through the heavy atmosphere of their household. David silently vowed not to waste this opportunity and to do everything he could to bring happiness back to the woman he loved and their family. After their emotional conversation, David realized this was his one chance to mend his relationship with Emma. He understood that change wouldn't happen overnight, but he was willing to be patient. David began showing his love through the smallest gestures, hoping Emma would feel his sincerity. David made an effort to create new memories for their family. He spent more time playing with Oliver, helped Emma with cooking and housework, and took on tasks he once thought were insignificant. These acts became incredibly meaningful as they demonstrated to Emma that he was genuinely trying to change. He also sent her loving messages throughout the day, sharing small updates about what he was doing to ease her mind and reassure her. One Sunday afternoon, David suggested taking the family to the park. It was the first time in weeks that they had gone out together. At the park, David played with Oliver, pushing him on the swing and kicking a ball around with him. Emma sat on a bench, watching them from afar. She felt a twinge of emotion seeing David's efforts to reconnect with their family. From a distance, David glanced back at Emma and smiled. Emma returned his smile with a small nod. It wasn't complete forgiveness, but it gave David hope. He understood that trust would take time to rebuild. But in that moment, he felt encouraged to keep trying for the family he loved. David decided it was time to plan a special date night for Emma. He wanted to recreate the romantic moments they once shared when their love was at its most passionate. He meticulously prepared for the evening, from finding Emma's favorite restaurant to picking out the most beautiful bouquet of fresh flowers. He arranged for his mother to watch Oliver that evening, ensuring that the couple could enjoy some private time together. David informed Emma about the special plans, and while she was a bit surprised and hesitant, she eventually agreed. She wanted to give David a chance to prove his love. That evening, David took Emma to an elegant riverside restaurant they had visited on their wedding anniversary. The twinkling lights reflected on the water, creating a warm and romantic atmosphere. David pulled out a chair for Emma, his smile soft and filled with affection. During dinner, David reminisced about their past, about their trips together and the times they explored small, hidden eateries. He recalled joyful moments they had shared, and Emma couldn't help but smile. She felt her heart gradually opening, and the worries and tension she had been carrying began to melt away. As the meal concluded, David looked directly into Emma's eyes and said, "Emma, I know the past few weeks have been incredibly hard for you. I just want you to know that I love you, and I won't stop trying to show you that every single day." Emma was silent for a moment before she softly replied, "I've seen your efforts, David. I hope we can start over. But you know this will take time." David nodded, gently taking her hand and placing a tender kiss on it. That night, while it wasn't complete forgiveness, both of them felt that their love was still there, waiting to be rekindled as long as they worked together. In the days that followed, David and Emma worked together to change how they lived and treated each other. Emma gradually noticed the positive changes in David. He made an effort to do everything with her, from small tasks like cleaning the house to larger responsibilities like taking care of Oliver or planning weekend outings. David also took the initiative to share more about his work, the challenges he faced, and even the small happenings at the office. He hid nothing, understanding that honesty was the key to rebuilding the trust they had lost. Emma began to feel more secure, seeing how David tried to keep her included in his world, something he hadn't often done before. One evening, after finishing dinner as a family, David suggested they go for a walk around the neighborhood. Together, they strolled along the familiar streets, talking about Oliver and their plans for the upcoming summer vacation. Emma felt her heart gradually warming as she realized that David's love for her was still strong. David, on the other hand, felt joy seeing Emma smile more often. The weariness that once shadowed her eyes seemed to have faded. Walking side by side, they both began to feel that their connection, though strained, was slowly finding its way back to where it had once been. One day, David decided it was time to take the short trip he had planned earlier. He chose a quiet, nature-filled destination where the family could enjoy privacy, away from the noise and stress of everyday life. Emma agreed, feeling a small spark of excitement. For the first time in a long while, she felt she could relax and genuinely enjoy time with her husband and son. The trip took place over the weekend. David rented a charming little cabin nestled in a pine forest. In the mornings, the family woke up early to watch the sunrise through the window, listening to birdsong and breathing in the fresh, crisp air. David prepared breakfast for everyone, and afterward, they took a leisurely walk through the forest. Oliver ran ahead, occasionally turning back to call for his parents, his innocent laughter filling the air and warming both Emma and David's hearts. In the evening, they sat together by the fireplace, sharing cheerful stories and laughter. Emma glanced at David and felt the sincerity and love in his gestures. The pain of the past began to fade, replaced by warmth and hope for a brighter future. Emma knew there was still work to be done to fully heal, but she also saw David's efforts and wanted to give him a chance. David embraced Emma and softly whispered, "Thank you for giving me this chance. I promise I'll never let you down again." Emma rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. She knew that as long as they worked together, they could overcome anything. In that moment, Emma felt as though she had found the trust she thought she'd lost. She smiled, looking into David's eyes, and said, We'll get through this together. David, I know you love me and Oliver. And I love you too. David's face lit up with a radiant smile. He knew this was a new beginning for their family, a beginning filled with hope, love, and the promise of a stronger bond. After the trip, Emma and David returned home with a renewed spirit. Emma saw the changes in David and decided to trust in their love once more. David, with a heart full of determination, made a solemn vow to himself that he would never hurt Emma again. These renewed promises strengthened their bond and brought their family closer together. David continued to make daily efforts to prove his love. He spent more time talking to Emma, listening to her thoughts and feelings. Every morning, he helped her prepare breakfast and took care of Oliver before dropping him off at school. David also adjusted his work schedule to come home earlier each day, making sure to spend his evenings with Emma, whether it was watching a movie together or simply sharing a cup of tea and talking. Emma began to feel the significance of David's efforts. She could sense his care and love, and slowly, she started to feel safer in their relationship. Every time she saw David and Oliver playing happily together, her heart warmed. She knew their family was gradually finding its way back to the happiness they once had. Through patience, understanding, and a renewed commitment to each other, Emma and David's relationship began to heal. Both of them realized that their love, when nurtured with sincerity and effort, could overcome any obstacle. Together, they were rebuilding not just trust, but also a stronger and more harmonious family. However, life wasn't always smooth. One day, David encountered a major problem at work. His supervisor was putting immense pressure on him due to a project that hadn't delivered the expected results. Those days, David often came home with a tired and stressed expression. Emma couldn't help but feel worried seeing her husband in such a state. One evening, after Oliver had gone to bed, Emma decided to sit down and talk to David. David, I've noticed you've been really exhausted lately. Is something going on at work? She asked, her voice filled with concern. David sighed and began sharing the challenges he was facing and the pressures he was under. Emma listened without interrupting, holding his hand to show him that she was there for him. David, I know you're going through a tough time, but I believe you'll get through it. You don't have to carry everything on your own. Oliver and I are always here to support you, Emma said, her eyes full of trust and encouragement. David felt a sense of relief wash over him. He realized that it wasn't just him making an effort. Emma was also trying her best to support and help him. Her words reminded him that he wasn't alone and that their family was a source of strength he could always rely on. That night, as they sat together, David felt more determined to face his challenges at work. Knowing Emma and Oliver believed in him gave him the motivation to keep pushing forward. Their bond, strengthened by mutual understanding and support, helped them navigate even the most difficult moments. After that conversation, David felt as though he had found a renewed sense of motivation. He decided he would no longer let work negatively impact his family. He began learning to balance work and life, and whenever he faced challenges, he made a point to share them with Emma instead of bottling them up as he had before. This openness strengthened their relationship, as both realized they could rely on each other no matter what. Emma, too, felt the bond between her and David growing stronger. They started planning new adventures for their family, such as a long vacation with Oliver or renovating their home to make it more comfortable. Each time they planned something together, they felt closer and more in tune with each other. One evening, David surprised Emma with a large bouquet of flowers. I just wanted to thank you for always standing by me, no matter what happens. I'm truly grateful for you, Emma, David said, his voice full of sincerity. Emma was deeply moved. She smiled and hugged him tightly. These small but meaningful moments reminded them both of how much they meant to each other. It was in these gestures, both big and small, that they rediscovered the love and appreciation that had always been the foundation of their relationship. David and Emma agreed that their family would always be their top priority. No matter what challenges came their way, they vowed to protect and nurture the happiness of their little family. Emma realized that despite the tough times, it was their love and mutual efforts that had helped them overcome everything. David devoted more time to Oliver, teaching him independence and being his companion in all of his activities. They went camping together, played sports, and shared quiet evenings reading books before bedtime. Watching David and Oliver bond so closely filled Emma's heart with happiness. She knew she had made the right decision in giving David a second chance. Emma also took the initiative to create private moments for her and David. She understood that to keep their love alive, they needed to spend time understanding and sharing with each other. Whether it was cooking dinner together, taking evening walks, or simply watching a favorite movie, these small moments brought them closer and deepened their love. Their family, after enduring many storms, had grown stronger and more united than ever. Emma and David both understood that happiness wasn't something that came effortlessly. It was the result of continuous effort from both sides. For them, their little family was the most precious thing in the world, a place where they always found joy, peace, and the love that sustained them through it all. As time passed, Emma felt her trust in David slowly being restored. She began to open up more, no longer holding on to the doubts that once lingered in her heart. David's continuous efforts to prove his love and dedication to their family reassured Emma more than ever. His daily acts of kindness and open communication helped her find peace and confidence in their relationship. One evening, Emma decided it was time for an honest conversation with David. She wanted to share her feelings and hear his thoughts about their future. After Oliver had gone to bed, the couple sat together on the sofa, the soft glow of the lamp creating a warm and cozy atmosphere. Emma held David's hand and said, "David, I see how much you've worked to change, and I want you to know that I truly feel it. I no longer doubt your love, but I think we should plan for our future together so we can both feel secure and confident moving forward." David smiled, his eyes filled with gratitude and affection. "Emma, all I've ever wanted is for you and Oliver to have a happy life. I'll do anything to protect and care for our family. I know the past has been tough, but because of you, I've learned how to love and appreciate more deeply. I want us to face everything together, no matter what comes our way." Emma could feel the sincerity in David's words. She nodded, smiling as she felt an invisible weight lift from her shoulders. They had overcome their struggles, and now, with trust and understanding, they were ready to move forward together. In that moment, Emma knew their love had grown stronger through the challenges, and she felt hopeful for the future they would build as a family. After rebuilding trust between Emma and David, they decided to embark on a new adventure as a family. This time, they chose a farther destination, a place none of them had visited before. David had been planning this trip for a while and wanted it to be a special gift for Emma to show his gratitude for her unwavering support. The family traveled to a serene countryside with vast green fields and small villages by the river. They rented a cozy wooden cabin by the riverbank, where every morning they woke up to the cheerful chirping of birds and the fresh, crisp air. Emma was captivated by the scenery, feeling her stress melt away, leaving only joy and relaxation. David and Oliver worked together to set up a campsite by the river. Oliver was excitedly running around, helping his dad pitch the tent and gather firewood. Emma watched from a distance, her heart full of happiness as she saw the two of them laughing and playing together. That evening, they grilled meat, shared funny stories, and stargazed under the clear night sky. For Emma, this was the moment she had longed for: a warm, loving, and joyful family. During the trip, Emma and David found more opportunities to deepen their connection. They explored quaint paths together, visited small villages, and chatted with the locals. These new memories not only enriched their family bond but also strengthened Emma and David's relationship. They realized that life wasn't just about responsibilities and pressures. It was also about cherishing moments like these, where the family could come together to share joy and create lasting memories. This adventure reminded them of the importance of being present for each other and the beauty of shared experiences, cementing their love and commitment to their family's happiness. Returning from their adventure, David and Emma resumed facing the challenges of daily life. David's work remained stressful, but he had learned not to let workplace tension affect his family. He frequently shared his struggles with Emma, whose understanding and support became a powerful motivator for him to persevere. One day, David's company encountered a major crisis. A project under his supervision hit a significant snag, and his superiors placed the blame on him. David felt immense pressure and worried about his future at the company. When he returned home, he didn't keep it to himself. Instead, he chose to share everything with Emma. Emma listened intently and felt deeply for her husband. She knew how hard David had worked and believed he didn't deserve to shoulder the blame for mistakes beyond his control. Gently, she said, "David, you've done your best, and I'm so proud of you. No matter what happens, Oliver and I will always stand by your side. We're a family, and together, we can face anything." Emma's words gave David a sense of reassurance. He realized that, no matter the circumstances, he had a loving and supportive family to rely on. This gave him the motivation to rise above his worries, face the challenges, and work on resolving the issues at his company. Through relentless effort and determination, David eventually overcame the crisis. He regained the trust of his superiors and colleagues, emerging stronger and more resilient. The experience deepened his appreciation for Emma and reminded him of the unshakable foundation they had built together, a family that could weather any storm. After all the trials and challenges, Emma and David's family finally rediscovered complete happiness. They realized that maintaining a relationship required not only love but also patience, forgiveness, and understanding. Emma felt grateful that David had changed, and David was thankful that Emma had given him the chance to make things right. One afternoon, the family decided to host a small celebration at home to commemorate their journey and welcome the brighter days ahead. David and Oliver worked together to decorate the house, while Emma cooked their favorite dishes. When everything was ready, they sat down at the table, basking in the warmth of their family bond. David raised his glass and said, "I want to thank you, Emma, for always standing by me, even when I let you down. And Oliver, thank you for bringing joy and meaning into our lives. I promise to always do my best to keep this family happy." Emma smiled, her heart filled with peace and happiness. After dinner, the three of them played and laughed together. Oliver ran around the house, his cheerful laughter echoing everywhere. Emma and David exchanged a glance, their eyes reflecting trust and hope for a bright future. They knew that no matter how many challenges came their way, they would face them together because love and family were what mattered most. In that moment, Emma realized that everything she needed was right in front of her. A loving husband willing to change for her, a sweet and cheerful son, and a small family filled with love. Life might not be perfect, but for Emma, happiness was living and loving the people who meant the most to her.